it opens up doors for us now to start participating in these things. For an example, we've done a few things in the region, like with the youth. You've got some really bright guys. Some guys are actually very good online gamers.
And if you want to send a voice note asking a question, please make sure to say your name and also where you're from, and also tell us what your question is. And we're going to be having Mr. Jiyane giving you the answers directly from his mouth. Sawubona, Mr. Zakhele, hello.
Hello, sister, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, and how are you?
Fine, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Loud and clear, believe me.
Awesome.
So I wanted to ask, how do you pronounce your surname? Because I'm really scared to pronounce it once again.
No, you were on the money there. It's
Really?
Jiyane.
Jiyane. I am so proud of myself. I am so proud of myself.
Dating with Meet Miss Tay, queen of all thick queens every month.
Are you good though, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing?
I am
Health
well.
is important these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I am well. Thank you so much for asking me. I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you are a very, very busy man, so I really do appreciate you being here and actually taking out time in your plans just to talk to us and just to, answer all the questions that we have today.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you
for
so
having me.
much. Thank you so much. I am really, really excited. But before we get any more further, I just want you to please explain to each and every one of us, what exactly is 5G?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? So I think probably the best way to explain what 5G is to maybe start from the beginning, so that we understand how we even end up at 5G, There's even 1G that was out there.
Really?
Although we didn't have it in South Africa. Yeah. Although we didn't have it in South Africa, it wasn't popular. As you know, Vodacom started in 1993. But already in the late 70s, there was 1G. 1G was like a phone that is so big that people used to put maybe one unit in the boot of the car and the other unit in the front to be able to make calls. And then, of course, when we as Vodacom started, then we started with the technology called 2G, which is predominantly voice technology. Did do a little bit of data, but nothing that you will be used to today, because today you expect that things must happen in an instant. When you click on a web page, you expect it to download immediately. When you want to listen to a song today, you are streaming music. So on 2G, you couldn't do those kind of things. But 2G gave you a capability to do voice calls on a much smaller device. So depending on when you were born, you will know those devices. They were Nokia 3310s, Siemens S4. So if you're a 2000, you're not going to know that because, those are old phones.
Yeah,
maybe you might have seen them on TV, but those were the kind of phones. We were not talking iPhones at the time. And then 2G also tried to improve its data capabilities by introducing something called GPRS. Technical people call it 2.5G, where you got a little bit more speeds, but nothing up to 1 megabit per second of speed, as well as edge. It can give you a lot of speed. And then from then we moved on to 3G around 1998. Then you started having a bit more, much faster data speeds. Now you were able to download music from internet, maybe overnight, depending where you are in terms of your speeds. And then 3G gave you the better experience on data. What is common today is 4G, and that's where we're starting to get much higher throughputs, much higher downloading speeds that we use. Because now you're starting to use all these apps that have so much content. Even people probably in different industries are using a lot of social media to market their businesses. So you have got 4G now. So 4G is giving you much higher throughput. You are able to do much bigger things. Almost depending if there is no network capacity constraint, you can use it like a fixed service, like a fiber line, because the speeds are quite high. But then your question was 5G. That's why I'm trying to give context so that you can see how important 5G is and how powerful 5G. So 5G, it's one big advantage over 4G.
Okay.
I'll mention 3 things. The first thing is the capacity of the network. By capacity, what do I mean? I mean how many people can you carry on a 5G network? So, and the speed. 5G gives you more speed, 10 times better than 4G, and it's got more capacity, which means you can carry more customers on one tower that you see. And also there's something called latency. If I try and put it in layman's terms, latency is like a delay.
Okay.
If you talk to the young ones, they know this because they play online games. So when you're playing online games, latency is very important. If latency is very high, your experience will be very bad, because with online gaming, you can play with somebody who's in the States while you're sitting here. So if your latency is low, that lag, if you're playing a soccer match, you might be trying to tackle the guy, but the guy is already past you. So latency is the big element. So that's basically 5G. But let me give you another context so that you can clearly understand why 5G is such a big technology for everybody. You hear often people speaking about the 4th industrial revolution. What is the 4th industrial revolution? So obviously it's the 4th. There were other revolutions before, way back then, before our ancestors were born, I guess, starting from the 1800s, starting from the first one, which talks about steam engine, second one, then there's a third one, which was called the digital revolution. That's when we started to get introduced into things like the personal computers and the internet, and then we got access to the internet. So if you look at it, the third revolution is almost the same as the 4th industrial revolution. So the 4th industrial revolution, how is it different from the third one? It is different in the sense that the distinction, technology is starting to match more and more with us as humans. What do I mean by that? Matching more and more with us as humans is because now we are wearing technology. We are using technology to do a lot of things.
True.
You are now starting to see people wearing smartwatches. I'm wearing a smartwatch. It can monitor my blood oxygen concentration on my blood. It can check my pulse. It can monitor my heart if there's an abrupt thing happening with my heartbeat. With technology, 5G enables the 4IR to happen. So when we're talking about 4IR, we're talking about all the things you read about and you see on the net: autonomous cars, self-driving cars. If you go in some countries overseas, you have cabs that you can jump into with no driver. It needs 5G to operate because of that latency I was talking about, which is not long. You can imagine if you are in a taxi that is driving itself, it has to be able to get the signals instantly to see that I can cross that robot or I can stop there. So,
but then
about remote surgery.
To interrupt you. So is 5G now going to be a disadvantage, because now that right there is actually someone's job? You know what I mean? So is 5G actually out here to take people's jobs or to make life easier?
Well, look, there are both sides to it, right? 5G will enable a lot of things to happen.
Okay.
Let's talk about what I'm referring to now as being able to do things remotely. For an example, now you can do surgery remotely with a robotic arm when the doctor is sitting overseas and is operating somebody here, because they can make this possible through 5G.
Okay.
At the same time, you can have maybe a certain part of your body, let's say your hip replacement. Our old people have hip issues. You can have a hip printed on a 3D printer, and then they replace somebody's hip. So 5G, look at it in the sense that it will open up a world of opportunity to all of us. Like in Mpumalanga, we have 5G. It means a child sitting somewhere in Mpumalanga would have, an opportunity to innovate and come up with things that will change the world. Because if you don't have 5G, then you get left out. You get left out from the progress that is happening. So it means even if you are somebody sitting in Mpumalanga, if we have 5G in Emalasheni, for an example, you are able to now participate in the new economy that is going to be enabled by 5G. You are able to participate in this 4th industrial revolution. So you are right. Yes, 4IR brings other things like automation, robotics, like we're talking about operations. Obviously, right now there's somebody who's doing that manually, but it doesn't mean that if automation comes, it just means that jobs change now. The skills that you need are not going to be the same as the skills that we have today.
And this actually takes me to my next question, because I hear you talking about how now a child from eMalahleni can be an innovator all because of 5G. But I'd want you to actually explain to us what 5G being launched in Mpumalanga actually means.
Exactly, that's what we've just touched on. So 5G being launched in Mpumalanga, first of all, it means that we are part of the current things in the world right now. We will be able to participate in that because we have the latest and the greatest technology. That's the technology you will find in first world countries today, maybe rolled out at a much larger scale, obviously, because they are more advanced than we are. But the good thing is that if you are sitting somewhere in China and you are sitting here, it's exactly the same capabilities. And us as African, we are creative, right? So it opens up doors for us now to start participating in these things. For an example, we've done a few things in the region, like with the youth. You've got some really bright guys. Some guys are actually very good online gamers. Some of them are actually creating games, so all those opportunities, it means now you can be able to do stuff where you can also move with the technology, like you were saying, and start participating in the jobs that are relevant today. So that's what it basically opens for us.
That is actually very true, because now you have kids actually in Mbombela. I know of a kid that created his own app, very similar to Mr. D. It's a food delivery app, and it's just to add on what you were saying, that 5G in Mpumalanga is actually a very great thing that we need to celebrate. And we're really grateful for Vodacom to actually launch the first 5G in Mbombela, I must say. We're really happy about that. It takes me to my next question. I guess everyone has been asking this question, if whether or not actually 5G is linked to the causes of COVID-19, or are these just rumors?
Okay, I guess that's one of the disadvantages of social media, because you can quickly spread, fake news. But coming back to the question and answering it directly, there is absolutely no scientific evidence to say that there is a link between 5G and the spread of coronavirus or creation of coronavirus. This is not from me. This is from reputable organizations like the World Health Organization that has issued statements to say there is no link. Also, in this field of telecommunications, there are certain standards that have to be met. Just like right now, we're having this interview, you're sitting on the chair there. Somebody like the SAPS has to approve that it's safe for you to sit on the chair and not fall and break your leg. Or if it's at work, it must support all the economics, etc. So there's a body that does something called ICNIP standards, where they measure the radiation from the towers, because I'm just referring to radiation because it's the only thing that can harm an individual from the tower is radiation. So they measure the radiation for each and every tower that you see in Mpumalanga that has been approved and certified not to be harmful. So there is directly no link between 5G and COVID-19. We saw some stuff happening in South Africa, in KZN, where people were burning towers because they were following the stuff they were seeing on social media. It had started in China, I think, but fortunately we were able to gather with government to arrest the situation and educate people, because when you burn towers, instead of making progress, you regress it, because that's the same connectivity you will need to save somebody's life. So it's not great. And also, we're already having enough trouble with our towers because of things like vandalism on towers, which maybe we can touch on later if there's an opportunity.
All right. Don't you think we should actually take the 21st generation back to 1G? Because while news are spreading very quick, I mean, if it leads to a point where now people are actually burning the towers, as you had said, that people are burning the towers that could actually save someone else's life, it's really, really crazy. So as I was reading the article that was released on the Vodacom website, it was said that in Mpumalanga, 6 districts, including Mbombela, the 5G has actually been launched. please do you mind specifying which other districts in Mpumalanga have the 5G been launched?
Okay, currently we've launched 5G here in Mbombela. We've got 6 towers that we have launched, but we already have plans to launch in Emalahleni 5G. We also have plans to launch in the Kharsibande district. So we will do it gradually. We'll start from the densely populated areas, because also 5G rollout is important for us to ensure that we roll it out where there are 5G devices. So remember, some of these mobile phones we carry don't support 5G. It's mostly the newer models. As you know, every time you get a better technology, you find that the older devices don't support it. So currently it will be smartphones, your high-end smartphones, although we're starting to see in the mid-tier device categories, some phones coming in that can support 5G. So that is the reason why we're starting to roll it out in places like Mbombela, Emalahleni, and places like Emelo in Kharsibande. But of course, it will start spreading out into all areas.
All right, thank you so much. So we actually have a few listeners that have sent us voice notes, and I just really like us to go quickly to what our listeners have to say, and I'd love for you to please answer the questions that they have for you. Is that okay with you?
Try my best.
Okay, let's just get straight into it. We're going to be playing the first voice note for you. Let's just go straight into it.
Hi, this is Lutando from Malelani. So my question is, what are the benefits of 5G? Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, we did touch on that. The first big benefit is that 5G gives us massive capacity on the network, so we're able to carry more customers on the same network. Maybe let me put it in context. And when I talk about speed, you can get up to 200 megabits per second, if that makes sense to anyone. But if I try and contextualize it, you can download a 4K movie or even 8K video in, like, say 8K at about 5 minutes, 4K in 3 minutes. So a 4K movie on average is like a 4 gig file, which is quite a huge file. So remember when we were speaking about 1G and 2G, you would have to spend the whole week trying to download that. It should probably pop out before you even finish. So the first one is capacity of the network to carry more subscribers. The second one is the high download speeds. And the third one, and the most important one, which we touched on earlier, is the latency or the lag on the network. When you send a command, there must be an immediate response so that you can be able to enable the OIR technologies like autonomous driving vehicles, robotic operations. You can even do, augmented reality stuff. So that's what's important about latency.
All right, thank you. Let's just take it to the second voice note that we got from one of our listeners.
With Tunes, the future of online digital radio.
Hi, this is Sam from Hazy View. So I'd like to ask, what are the disadvantages of 5G?
Great. Disadvantages of 5G. Look, if you are not a person that's going to take advantage of the opportunity like we discussed, because a technology like 5G enables the fourth industrial revolution. And we did say that the fourth industrial revolution will come with the requirement for a different skill set. You yourself asked me that, does this mean people will lose jobs? Definitely. In certain sectors, if something gets automated, then it means that the need for a person to be there is not going to be there anymore. But if you move with the times, adopt the changes that happen, and then you also change your skill set. For an example now, coding is a big thing, because some people finish matric and they don't even have formal qualification. They do coding because they know that coding is the most relevant thing right now. Let me make you another example. In fact, because of 5G, the research says that in the world, I don't know how many people are billionaires in the world. It's about 1% of the population. But those people own about 45% of the wealth in the world. Why is that? It's because a high percentage of all the innovations that happen are coming from the billion. So if we do not innovate, we're going to continue to be pushed down further in the hierarchy. And then the people who have money will continue to have even more money. True. And the people who have nothing will continue to suffer. So if you embrace the change and you keep yourself updated and you start understanding that, okay, maybe I'm in high school now. What is it that I need to study when I finish matric? Maybe you study something that's relevant, or maybe you come up with your own innovations. Like you said, somebody here already is doing designing apps for delivery, etc. There are many other very good examples of people who have done stuff that's very progressive. So I will only see it as a disadvantage if you don't move with the time and you sit and you say, I'll wait and see what happens.
We actually have an extra, another voice note for you. And then after all the voice notes, we're going to take it live to Facebook. So let's just play you the next question that we have for you.
Wiggle Tunes Online Digital Radio, welcoming you to the future of radio. Broadcasting to you live every day, right from our mobile app. Bringing you the content you love to hear, when and where you love to hear it. Live streams, podcasts, music, and more. All right here on Wiggle Tunes.
Okay, so we actually have a question. Can you still take more questions? Let me just ask you first, and I'll throw you with questions.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna play this voice note for you.
This is Larry from Barberton, and a quick question: why does 5G need fiber optic?
Okay, great question there. Somebody that's a bit technical. So the reason why 5G needs fiber optic, because 5G has high capacity. Number one, like we said, it can carry more customers. So you can imagine different customers doing different things on the network that require, there's a lot of data that gets aggregated. So fiber optic has got much higher capacity than, I don't know if he knows, a microwave network. Normally the towers are connected via microwave. The microwave is like there's a dish that goes on the mast and that connects the base station. So fiber optic that he's talking about is like the fiber that comes into the homes. Fiber optic is a cable that comes into the base station that's got huge capacity to be able to carry traffic. So because 5G has a high capacity, therefore it needs a bigger pipe to carry the traffic. And also because it has got high speeds also require a lot of bandwidth on the transmission network. So that's why 5G needs fiber optic.
I hope Larry is answered.
It's like a highway, A highway with one lane will take one car, and the highway with 5 lanes will take 5 cars. So that's fiber for the 5-lane highway.
Okay, we have a next voice note for you, so we're just going to go straight into it.
Hi, Tay. It's Debo from Mpumalanga, Msogwaba. Yo, I'm so happy that 5G is finally in Mpumalanga. It's much faster. I have one question though. Will 5G make Wi-Fi obsolete?
Great question. Okay, so as you know, there are different types of technology. Wi-Fi is just what you connect with. We have a router that's transmitting a Wi-Fi signal. Remember, you can still put a SIM card in the router, and that SIM card is connected to either a 3G network, a 4G network, or a 5G network, and then you have Wi-Fi in your house. However, if you're talking about Wi-Fi that comes from the Wi-Fi operators that we also have, given the applications that we spoke about, Wi-Fi is not in that same league as 5G. If we are talking about all the progressive things we're talking about, Wi-Fi will really struggle, and I think it will probably be replaced, be made obsolete by 5G. Even 4G currently is a much better technology than to use a Wi-Fi network, because it's prone to all sorts of interference in the transmission, etc. And the capacity also is not as high.
Yeah. So we actually have a few comments coming live right now. on Facebook, and people are just really interested, and they're really, really happy that you're here to answer most of the questions that they have for you. So Nokolo Niki on Dlamini says intriguing, and then Samuel Madigage says interesting, learning something new about 5G. Maseba Mashaba says interesting topic, and then we have Swanepoel saying yes man, go boss go, and then Dumiso says very interesting topic. So once again, I really do want to say thank you so much for being here with us. I have another question. I have so many questions or other voice notes prepared for you. Here's another listener.
Hey there, Tete. This is Sebastian from White River. I just wanted to know, will 5G be available to all Vodacom clients and devices, or will it only be available on specific devices and contracts? Thank you.
Okay, so 5G will be available as long as you have the right device that supports it. It doesn't matter whether you are a prepaid or postpaid customer. If you have a device that can receive 5G, then you'll be able to access 5G. So I forgot the gentleman's name. If it's White River, because we have 5G in Mpumalanga, if he's got maybe an iPhone 12 or S21 or Huawei Pro 40, what's it called? Yeah, the latest Huawei. He can actually come here and at Swan Park you do receive 5G from the base station near to the center there. Then you can start experiencing it, experimenting, download some stuff and see how fast it is. It's quite fascinating.
All right, another voice note for you.
Hi there, I'm Rafia from Woodbank, and being in the digital marketing industry, I'd like to know, is 5G better than fiber, and if so, how?
Great question. They're getting technical, this question. 5G, like I said earlier, 5G is like wireless access because of its speed. So fixed is the fiber because it's a fixed medium. It's a cable that comes into the house. That's why it's called fixed. But the reason why I'm saying it's like fixed wireless access is because 5G is able to give you the type of speeds that you also get from the fiber. If you buy fiber from us today, which we do have, you can get anything from a 10 megabits per second download speed up to 100 megabits per second download. In some cases, even 200. But remember earlier on when I explained, I said 5G can give you up to 200 megabits per second, so which is the same as fiber. So they're comparable, but of course fiber is a dedicated line that comes into somebody's house. 5G is still being used by all the people that are connected to the tower. So in the case where, let's say now the penetration of 5G devices is so high in a particular area that this tower now is really struggling with capacity, then the speeds will start reducing. But the good thing is that because the capacity and the speeds are so high, even if you divide the speed to all the subscribers, the available speed will still be enough for anything that a digital marketer or streaming Netflix or online gaming, etc., will still be adequate. So you could almost say those two technologies are the same. And the nice thing is that 5G is available widely and quicker because it's about us upgrading the tower and then you're receiving it on your phone. Whereas if you want fiber, you need to get someone who must come there, who must dig, trench, get a cable into your house, connect it into your router, which is a long process. But if you get 5G in your area, switched on today, basically if you have the 2G, if you have the device, you have access today.
Thank you so much. We actually have a question from Facebook. Nomcebo Mabuza says, super excited. Thank you, Mr. Jiyane. Thank you, Vodacom. I found a lot of contradictory discussions on the web, though. Is 5G an issue for the environment and human health?
Definitely not. There is nothing different about 5G than what we currently have right now. We're using the same infrastructure that is there. And like I said, let me maybe go back to that point of the ICNIP standard. I'm going to try and not make this technical so that it's easy to understand. So basically what ICNIP does, they measure the radiation coming out of our antennas. And then when you get to a level that is deemed to be harmful, they then reduce it by a factor of 50, like reduce it by a factor of 50. Let me try an example. Let's say you are sitting in front of the fire and it's cold and you're putting your hands over the fire. So if you keep bringing your hands closer and closer to the fire, there'll be a point where you will feel the burn, right? Now, let's say when you get to that point, not when your hands are burning, to that point, because you feel that now, you know what, if I go further down, I'm going to start burning my hands. And then at that point, discount the level of heat by a factor of 50. So you can see that you're probably getting back into a space where your hands are getting cold. That's how IGNIP measures the radiation from the towers. So there is absolutely no impact on anything, on humans, on vegetation, on anything. It's a world approved thing. It's approved by the World Health Organization. You can imagine a body like that decides what happens to us in terms of COVID, for an example. They wouldn't allow 5G to be rolled out if it had an adverse effect on humanity as a whole.
True. So we have just another voice note for you. One of our listeners asking you another question.
Hi Tate, Wijo here from Ligazi. So my question is, how does 5G play an important role in the IoT?
Thank you. That's a good question. So IoT is Internet of Things, right? So 5G is an enabling technology because IoT is part of the 4IR we spoke about. You see now how important the 4IR is. So 5G enables that. For an example, Internet of Things, you can have, you do have already in countries like China, people who are operating a mine remotely using a whole lot of screens and have trucks that are working in that site with not being driven by anyone. If you go to YouTube and you Google stuff like that, you check for stuff like that, you see they have a mine that's operated remotely. Let's say they have a place that's like a call center where they're sitting and they're looking at various screens. They are driving the truck and they're doing the operation in the mine without any person being physically there. So that's Internet of Things, where you enable things to be operated over the internet, enabled by 5G to be able to perform various operations. So 5G is important because, like I said, it is the enabling technology for the fourth industrial revolution, which is part of which is Internet of Things.
Thank you so much for that answer. I believe that was our last voice note. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Jiyane. We really appreciate you being here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. While I have the opportunity, like I said earlier, I just want to say that one of the biggest challenges that we have, as much as we want to bring the latest and the greatest to our community, which we're proud of, but we are really struggling with the issue of vandalism on our base stations. And in fact, in some cases, it's not even people from our province. They're coming from other provinces into our province to come and vandalize our sites. But we know that the importance of the base station to a community is quite huge, especially today that we have, COVID. We sometimes have restrictions. We can't travel. We want to call home, we want to check on our parents, we want to call emergency services. So we need the network to be available 24/7. So in some instances, we find ourselves not being able to, provide that service to our customers and our communities because of the vandalism. So I'm just appealing to anyone who knows somebody in their community that's doing that, or if people, spot some strange activity, people breaking into one of our containers, to call 10111. We also have a toll-free number 082 241 9952. Don't have to spend your airtime on that, just to alert us so that we can make sure that should it happen that you have that pressing moment where you need emergency services, you still have the network to do so. And also, if you are busy innovating or gaming at home or attending a meeting from home, right? I'm in the office right now, but I also work from home from time to time. If my network is down, I wouldn't be able to do so. So that's the appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
but other than
Mr.
that, it was really lovely. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
I thank you also. So
Great
guys,
stuff.
That right there is the end of our interview with Mr. Jiyane, the provincial manager of Vodacom in Mpumalanga. If you had a question, it was answered. I believe he has told us everything that he had to tell us. I love you all so much. Make sure to tune in on Wednesday from 12 p.m. up until 2 p.m. It's a girl, Miss Tate, queen of all the queens. And you know the verbs. I'm about to say goodbye.